He's led his team to 40 fourth-quarter game-winning drives. He has more wins than any other starting quarterback in NFL history, but can he attain the ultimate victory?
Just be ready for a heater. Be ready for a heater.
Be ready for John Elway. He's up close, up next.
From the ESPN studios in Los Angeles, here's Chris Myers.
Hi, and welcome to the program, and thanks for joining us. Our guest playing in his 15th NFL season, all as a Bronco. He's been called John Wayne in cleats. We welcome in from Denver, John Elway. John, how are you?
Doing good, thanks.
And thanks for joining us Monday night, the battle of the only undefeated teams at the time, and the Broncos blowing out the Patriots 34-13 at Mile High. How much should we take from that game in regard to who's the best team in the league right now?
Well, I think it's really early. I think that, you know, it was important for us to get that win, especially if you look at the playoff implications later on in the season, but we've still got 10 games to go. We had them in our backyard, so it was real important for us to get that victory and really kind of test us, see exactly where we were, because the Patriots had been playing so well that it was going to be a good test for us, and I think we came through with flying colors.
It was billed as an AFC Championship game preview. More attention being focused on the AFC this season with the Patriots, the Jags, yourself, and you know, we've heard things like the Bucs are maybe too young, the Cowboys and Niners may be too old, the Packers maybe aren't as hungry. Do you think this may be the AFC's best shot or your best shot at a Super Bowl win?
Well, I sure hope so. I think that it's been a long time since the AFC's had the best team in the NFL, and there are a lot of good teams in the AFC this year. You know, it's too early to count any of those NFC teams out, because there's always going to be a great team coming from that side of it. So we're just hoping that we can continue to play the way we are now, stay healthy, and then get ourselves back in the position that we were in last year when we went into the playoffs against Jacksonville.
Right, and we'll address that and what happened there and how this team has responded. But important to note in the win that it really wasn't a great game for you personally, your stats, but Terrell Davis had an outstanding game. And in the past, it just seemed like it was Elway or nothing for the Broncos. Tell me how Terrell Davis, we see the numbers, how he makes us a better football team. How has he helped make you more relaxed and more confident back there?
Well, I think anytime you have a running game like we had it going Monday night, and really have had it going all this year, it's going to take pressure off the passing game, and really it slows down the pass rush. Those guys can't tee off and just start rushing the passer. So, I mean, it's great to have great balance, and that's really kind of what our goal is here. And like you said, I didn't play well Monday night, and I think that that's what the encouraging thing is for us to be able to win 34-13. The defense had a great day. Terrell played great. I didn't play very well in our passing game. We didn't execute in the passing game very well. So we know that there's a lot of room for improvement, and to go out and dominate a team like we did with the Patriots was a good feeling.
All right, and for most of the year, you have had success through the air. And Rod Smith, the receiver, I guess in his third year, he said, hey, you know, throw it up there, you can catch it. Best receiver you've played along with in quite a while, or where would you rate him among the receivers you've played with?
Well, Rod's just a young guy, and I mean, he continues to get better week in and week out, and he's a guy that's a big target, and he can run, and he makes the tough catch, and he's tough. So, I mean, I'm sure glad he's on my team, and I think that, you know, he's a guy that on those deep balls, and when they're going one-on-one, I can put the ball up, and he's got the leaping ability to go up and get it. So, you know, I feel very fortunate to have the receiving core that we have, and Eddie McCaffrey on the other side, as well as Willie Green and Shannon Sharp and all those type people. So we've got a lot of weapons, and as a quarterback, that makes your job pretty easy.
Yeah, Shannon Sharp made the Pro Bowl 5 times. The only Bronco receiver in your time, this is interesting, in Denver to make the Pro Bowl was Anthony Miller, who's now in Dallas. And you talk about Rod Smith, who's an excellent blocker as well as a receiver. There were some doubts raised about the kind of team player that Anthony Miller was for this team. Are the Broncos better off without Miller?
Well, you know, that's tough to say. I think Anthony's a guy that, you know, has got a great amount of speed. He's got great ability, and I think that at this point in time in this offense, there's going to be so many different guys that touch the ball. It's going to be tough to make everybody happy, and I think that Anthony wanted the ball more, and because of the type of things we do in the passing game, everybody's going to get the ball. We're going to have 7, 8 guys with a bunch of catches, and so it was tough to get him the ball as many times as he wanted. But I think that it worked out great for both. I'm sure he's happy in Dallas, and Rod Smith has stepped in for him and done a great job here.
Is that ever an issue for you? I think with all the things you have to worry about as the quarterback, do you ever want, I know when we played pickup games as kids, you said, well, I got to get the ball to this guy so he keeps his head in the game. Do you ever have time to think about that?
Well, you don't, but you know, sometimes it happens, and I and I think that where we're lucky on this team is that, wait, I don't have to worry about that anymore. So, I mean, I don't have to think about going line of scrimmage. Well, this guy hasn't touched the ball, or I got to get the ball to this guy. I can go ahead and go through my reads and dump the ball to where I need to go with the ball. And I'm not going to have to worry about selfish guys worrying about how many balls they're getting. They're worried about us winning.
You've been to 3 Super Bowls, and we'll address that. This Bronco team, and I've heard you say some complimentary things, and we'll get into the defensive improvements too, but we just touched on some of the pluses on offense along with yourself. Is this as good, if not better, than any of the teams you've played with?
Yeah, it is, and I think that, you know, that can change in a hurry, though, because a couple key injuries, and you know, you can go from a good team or a great team to a good to an average team. So, I mean, you know, it's very important that we continue to get lucky and stay healthy, but, I mean, we've got some depth. We lost one of our starting corners in our first preseason game, and Darian Gordon has stepped in and done a great job. And so we've been able to, with the depth and plus the frontline guys that we've got have been playing great. So talent-wise, we're as good as we've ever been. But we also thought that last year going into that Jacksonville against in the Jacksonville in the playoffs. So we got to be really aware, you know, aware of that.
All right, and we're going to talk about that when we come back. We're with John Elway. He's the quarterback, the only undefeated team in the NFL right now in Denver, a 5-time Pro Bowl selection. We'll ask him about some of the comebacks, too. We'll talk about that later when we continue with John Elway. Don't go away.
It's America's most prestigious beer festival. Who won the gold medal for the best tasting American premium lager? Original Coors. Taste the one that won for taste.
You have 17 voicemail messages.
Congratulations. You've been born into the information age. So you can be guaranteed that all kinds of useless yada and endless blah-bitty-blah will be constantly hurled at you from every direction. Unless you get lucky once you learn to read, and someone gives you a lifetime subscription to USA Today. USA Today, not the most words, just the right ones.
The NFL is back, and it's better than ever. Now, Sports Illustrated wants you to grab on to the ultimate football package. 3 great football gifts, a limited edition NFL Team Sports Watch, and the official video of your favorite team, both free with your paid subscription. Plus, SI's Pro Football Spectacular, free when you use your credit card.
Gotta have it! Gotta have it!
Your rugged Team Sports Watch is water resistant and features the logo of your favorite team. Whether you want a classic or a hot new design, the choice is yours. With your official NFL team video, you'll get amazing highlights you won't want to miss. Call now. Get 54 issues of Sports Illustrated for only $1.48 an issue. Save over 57% off the cover price.
But we're not done yet.
Use your credit card and we'll also send you SI's own Pro Football Spectacular free. It's the ultimate football package, free from Sports Illustrated and nowhere else. Get into it.
Later on SportsCenter, the Dean of College Hoops announces his retirement. We'll examine his career and the future of Carolina's program. The Indians and Orioles get set for Game 2. Join us for SportsCenter, 6:30 Eastern.
We're up close with John Elway. Here's another one of those record 44th quarter comeback game winners, 1987. The 98-yard drive of the AFC Championship game hitting Mark Jackson with 39 seconds left, simply called the drive, as Denver went on to win in overtime by the score of 23-20. And we're back talking with John Elway, who's joining us from the Broncos facility in Colorado. You didn't need a comeback when the Broncos beat the Falcons last month, John. And I know you tried to downplay facing your old coach, whom you didn't really get along with. But how important was it really personally for you to beat Dan Reeves?
Well, I mean, and I said that, and I think people want to build it up a little bit really more than it really meant to me. I think that, sure, there was a little added incentive there because I played for Dan for a long time, and this is really the first time that we'd played him since he left here and went to the Giants and now with Atlanta. So, sure, there's a little bit more incentive, but I think the key thing was us going down there, they were looking for their first win, and it was important for us to go down there and play well and get the win. And you know, it started off real well for us. We got up 23-0, but a typical Dan Reeves team, they came back, and it got a little hairy there at the end, and but we ended up, you know, getting the win out of it.
All right, one more Reeves question. And many feel that had you played in a different system other than Reeves through that time, your career numbers would have been much better. So clear up the old rumor that any truth that you were considering retiring maybe if Reeves had stayed on as the coach in Denver.
Well, I mean, number one, about the numbers, I think that that was really overblown because they definitely wanted everybody around here was comparing my numbers the last 5 years compared to my first 10 years, and sure, they were a lot better. But then again, I don't know that we would have ever had a chance to go to 3 Super Bowls if things would have been different. So I wouldn't have changed a thing about my first 10 years. I had some up and down with them, but there were a lot more ups than downs, and we had a lot of wins and a lot of success. So I mean, it was something that I wouldn't change if I had a chance to go back and change my numbers, because I don't.
And now with a guy that you not only get along with, but he's obviously proven he's a successful head coach in the NFL in Mike Shanahan. Can you tell us one thing in particular, or what's first on the list in terms of how you two hit it off so well, and why you think he's been such a success and you've been very successful under him?
Well, I think that one of the key things is I think that Mike's, he's very knowledgeable about the game. I'm not sure that there's anybody that knows more about the game of football than on both sides of the ball, offensively and defensively, and he's a great offensive mind. And not only with that knowledge, he does a great job. There's nobody that outworks him, and so he works hard, and he's got great knowledge. And put those two together, and it's a pretty good combination.
Does he take suggestions from you more than other coaches in terms of, do you have that kind of understanding with each other, that there's more interaction in terms of what plays could be called or what type of approach there should be?
Yeah, and Mike's really open about those type of things, which is great, and it's perfect for a quarterback is to have a head coach and a coach that's running the offense that listen to what you have to say and respect what you have to say. So I mean, it's a great working relationship.
All right, let's go back, if we could, to last year's AFC Championship game against Jacksonville. And I know you've talked before about how difficult it is losing Super Bowl games, but where would you compare that loss and the way it happened to those Super Bowl losses?
Well, that definitely ranks up there. It was a very disappointing loss, and I think that, but when I look back on that game and look back on that day, that's what the NFL is all about. It doesn't matter who you're playing, that on a given day, anybody can beat you. And Jacksonville came in here on a roll. I think they'd won 6 in a row and were really playing well. And that day they played a perfect game. We didn't play a bad game. We didn't play our best game, but we didn't play that bad. But Jacksonville really came in here. They played the perfect game. Brunell had an outstanding day, made all the plays he needed to make to beat us. And so when I look back at the game, that's what I can say to myself is that, Jacksonville and Brunell, they had a great day, and it just wasn't our day. It gets disappointing because you know that window of opportunity is getting smaller and smaller with each passing year.
Yeah, and you worked hard to have such a good season and be at home. How bad after that loss? It was reported that you weren't seen or heard from for weeks, kind of went into hiding.
And then, see, that's another one. I was around here. My kids go to school here, so I was around here, and I didn't go into any cave or anything like that. But sure, it was tough. It was not something that was easy to swallow, and it took a while to get over. But I didn't purposely go into hibernation or anything.
Okay. How did that win help this team going into? How did that defeat, I should say, help this team going into this year? Because it brought out some defensive weaknesses. I know you restructured your deal so that defensive players like a Neil Smith could be added to this team. So if there is a silver lining, where is it?
Well, I really think that if anything, it's helping us right now at 6-0. We realize that. Looking back and when we reflect back on that game, that we have to go out and play our football game, and we have to play hard. And if we do that, then our chances of winning are muchly enhanced if we go out and just go through the motions. So I think that it being 6-0 and having our bye week, and now all of a sudden we're going against the Raiders, that we have almost a silent maturity to us in the fact that we realize that we can't take anybody for granted. We cannot take anything for granted. And I think if anything, we're drawn from that loss right now more than we ever have.
Yeah, and as you said a moment ago, the window of opportunity shrinking a little bit more. 3 all-pro quarterbacks in the AFC who haven't won the ring of part of that class with Kelly, Jim Kelly, Dan Marino, yourself. Kelly went 4 times, lost 4 times. Dan Marino has only been once to the Super Bowl, and of course your 3 trips. What bothers you most about not having won it all at this stage of the game?
Well, I don't know if anything bothers me the most. Sure, I mean, probably the thing that talks about the worst thing about it is hearing about it all the time, because you're tagged that. You're tagged with the fact that you've never won a Super Bowl, and I think that's probably the thing that bothers me the most. But I think the thing that I feel lucky is that I play for an organization that wants to win it. They're doing everything they can to win it, and we got a good football team. So I feel like the opportunity, if we go out and I go out and play like I'm capable of, that we've got a good shot at it. But I think that if things don't work out and I never get a Super Bowl ring, at least I know I can wake up in the morning and get up and brush my teeth, look myself in the mirror and say that, I did everything I possibly could do to get it done, and it just didn't happen.
When Jim Kelly retired, did that affect you in any particular way?
Yeah, I think that because it was, you know, really Jim and Dan and I were kind of the three musketeers that were still hanging on. And I think that, you know, when all of a sudden, and I'm close to Jim, and you see a guy, a contemporary like that, all of a sudden is retiring, and it kind of hits home a little bit, realizing that, you know, maybe we're not all indestructible like we thought we were, and that eventually the game's going to end. And I think Jim, with Jim being the first guy, it kind of hit home a little bit.
Yeah, Dan Marino told us on the show that the two of you have talked about not winning a Super Bowl. Do you feel for Dan? And when you guys discuss this, are you consoling each other? Because now obviously looks like you have a much better shot than Dan, at least this year.
Yeah, I think so. And I think what's great about that relationship and the relationship being with Jim is the fact that when we all came back in the league in 1983, it was a lot more competitive than it is now. I think now we're kind of more rooting for each other and realizing that no one in the class had ever won a Super Bowl. And so with Jim gone now, you know, Dan and I had talked about it, saying, hey, if I don't win it, I hope it's you, and so and vice versa. So I think that, sure, I have a lot of feelings for Dan and the career that he's had. He deserves a Super Bowl. I'm hoping that we both can get one before it's all done.
All right, more with John Elway, who's 132 wins, the most all-time for any quarterback. First, though, another fantastic Elway finish. January 17th, 88 AFC Championship game, again against the Browns. Elway pulls it out this time to Sammy Winder. More with John Elway from Colorado in a moment. Stay with us. I know you will.
Music Express, voted #1 by the National Limousine Association, has offices in Los Angeles and on the East Coast. Music Express can handle your corporate needs anywhere in the U.S. and worldwide. And guests of Up Close stay at the Beverly Prescott, L.A.'s premier boutique hotel. Call your travel agent to make reservations at the Beverly Prescott, a Kimpton hotel.
It's challenging.
Accidents are sometimes unavoidable. You never count on damaging your vehicle. But when an accident happens, you can count on Hoffman's Collision Centers to be there for you. We'll have your vehicle towed by our 24-hour towing service to one of our 5 convenient locations in Lake and Porter County. Our experienced staff is trained to help you in every part of the repair process, from estimating to contacting your insurance company to setting you up with a rental car. Come in and experience the Hoffman's touch.
If this reminds you of your checking account, call Check and Go for a fill-up. We'll cash your personal check today and deposit it 2 weeks later. Check and Go, the fastest way to payday. So if this reminds you of your checking account, call Check and Go. We'll cash your personal check today and deposit it 2 weeks later. Check and Go, the fastest way to payday.
One plan, get cloned. Get tickets and hit the road. Here's a better game plan.
ESPN game plan.
Every week, college football games from conferences you can't normally see. Sent right to you.
The ESPN game plan. It can't be duplicated.
Check Friday's USA Today for Saturday's game plan. To order any of these great college football games, call your cable company or DirecTV.
We go to Denver, we playing, right? First half, you know, I got 2 sacks already, right? So halftime we come in there, right? He goes, you need to get your head out your ass, right? You know, so I'm looking at him, and he goes, you know, if you want to be part of this thing, I said, man, do whatever you got to do, you know?
He said it Up Close. Join us on Friday. A lot of laughs with Hall of Famer Art Donovan. And then next week on the show, Brett Favre joins us in the studio to talk about the Packers' chances of repeating and Brett's book that's out. Also next week on the show, another quarterback from the NFC Central, Brad Johnson, a rising star in Minnesota. When we come back, more with John Elway. If he wins the Super Bowl, then will he retire? We'll ask him.
We gotta cut Johnson.
Yeah, Johnson? Absolutely.
I'll send him in.
What? Hi, Bubba. It's not that you're not good. You're too good. Is it hot? Free agent. Just throwing it out there as an idea with no meaning. Bubba. Bubba.
Not going anywhere for a while?
Master of your own destiny.
Grab a Snickers.
Those are great shower shoes. They're comfortable. They look it.
If I had my way, there would be no punting on 4th down.
No throwaway passes. I would never be told to slide or step out of bounds. Safeties would learn to fear my footsteps. And history books would not refer to me as a quarterback, but as a football player.
For the last 3 years, America's fallen in love with hockey on ESPN and those charming black and white commercials. Well, what's not to love? But now, through the miracle of modern technology, ESPN will be entering an exciting new season with an exciting new look. It's going to bring the whole commercial thing into the 90s. The Detroit Red Wings will be red, the St. Louis Blues blue, the Blackhawks will be, well, black. It's exciting, and I'm excited. And the players, well, they're excited too.
92 AFC playoffs, Broncos, Oilers, second fourth down conversion of the drive. John Elway hitting Vance Johnson, who takes it deep into Houston territory, setting up a game-winning field goal, giving the Broncos a 26-24 victory, another come-from-behind win for John Elway. And we're back talking with John from the Broncos training facility in Colorado. Which do you have, and I guess the drive is probably the one that stands out, John, but do you have a favorite fourth quarter or come-from-behind win that stands out more than any other?
Well, I think the drives are kind of the one that put me on the map, but the next one is the one that you're just talking about now. Is the Houston game, because we started on our own 2-yard line again, and they called it the drive too. But it was kind of fun to be able to do that and prove it, even though the situation was different. But to go ahead and start from the 2-yard line and do it again, I think is probably my second favorite.
Maybe a simple question, but maybe the answer is not so simple. But to what do you attribute that comeback ability to?
I don't know, probably my competitive nature and the fact that I realize that the game's not over. And really at that point in time, I feel like unless it's tied or when we're behind, we've got to figure out a way to get it done. And we really don't have anything to lose, so it's a matter of just pulling out all stops and going out there and playing as hard as you can.
Yeah, I was just saying, is your focus any different, or is there a sense of desperateness when you're behind?
Well, I think you get a little desperate, and there's no question that I think that you'll take some more chances. Maybe you'll take chances that you wouldn't take in other situations that give you a chance to make some bigger plays in the 2-minute, after the 2-minute warning's done.
What's it like for you when you have a chance to come back and it doesn't happen? I mean, how does that feel?
Well, I think it's disappointing because a lot of times, especially here in Denver, the expectations are so high, and not only the fans but of our team that we're. Even though it doesn't look good, that we're always going to give ourselves a chance. And so it's always a little more disappointing because we've done it so many times.
And you've only missed 9 starts in your previous 14 seasons due to injury. And I think it's incredible considering the beating we've seen you take physically sometimes over the years. When you wake up on a Monday morning at age 37 now, what hurts the most?
You know what, it's hard to say, but definitely what's funny is it's tougher on Tuesday morning than it is Monday morning. It hasn't really sunk in yet, but on Tuesday morning it gets a little bit tougher. And I think as you get a little bit older, you get to be 37, those bumps and bruises take a little longer to go away.
Now, and you've always had the strong arm. Is it as strong now as it was 5 years ago?
Yeah, I think I can still throw the ball as hard. Maybe I can't throw it as far as I used to be able to throw it, but I think that it's as strong, and I'm probably more accurate now than I've ever been, and really throwing the football better now. So maybe it doesn't have the deep strength that I used to, but I think I'm throwing better now than I used to.
And after suffering the torn bicep in the preseason, how did that affect things for you?
Well, I think if anything, that affected my confidence, and the fact that I didn't know, because I'd had surgery this offseason, and they said that they could cut the bicep tendon, but it had never been done before, so they decided not to do it. And then when we were down in Mexico, and they had told me that there was a chance that the tendon would rupture, and sure enough, it ruptured. But they didn't have any idea what was going to happen after that, whether I'd be able to throw again, because it never happened to a thrower. So it turned out being a blessing in disguise. It's taken a lot of the pain away, and it's a heck of a lot more fun to throw now than it was before.
Yeah, but was there actually that moment of fear where you thought you might not be able to throw or play again?
Yeah, when I walked off the field in Mexico and went and sat on the bench, because it's a pretty usual injury. In fact, a lot of linemen have this injury, but throwers never had it. So they didn't know what the impact it was going to be on a thrower. So that had added some doubt to my mind. It was 90% that I was able to come back, but that 10% was a little scary.
Yeah, that has to be. Now, have doctors told you that you might need an artificial knee when you retire? I know you like to play golf and be active with the kids. Is that something that concerns you a little bit?
Not really. I think that it still works pretty good. I've had 5 surgeries on my left knee. I heard it the first time in high school, but I think it still come along pretty well, and maybe, who knows, down the line that may happen, but I still think I got a lot of work, a lot of life in that left knee too.
And we'll talk about how much longer John Elway wants to play, how many more years he has left. First, another great fourth quarter comeback, October of '92 against Kansas City. 43 seconds left. He connects with Vance Johnson for the pass, and the Broncos pull it out 20-19. We'll have more with John Elway in a moment.
Up Close is brought to you by 1-800-COLLECT, the way we call collect today. And by the owners, managers, and crew who proudly call the McDonald's in your neighborhood, My McDonald's.
We were on vacation.
Oh, your sunglasses.
When we realized we were sitting on a gold mine.
Rubber sunglasses.
Too bad none of the stores saw it that way.
So, any more bright ideas?
Actually, yes. Our own website. And before we knew it, we were selling shades to everyone under the sun.
Open a storefront on the internet with the most powerful network in the world.
At Ford Motor Company, we're experimenting with a backing up warning system, which sounds a signal to help you avoid hitting what you can't even see. Sometimes you just have to go backwards to go forward. Ford, quality is job one.
Tonight, the Syracuse offense is perfect for quarterback Donovan McNabb. He has the ability to run the option, but also drops off the line to hurt you throwing the ball.
Syracuse Rutgers, tonight at 8, only on ESPN.
Continental, the only airline in history to earn this award twice in a row. Continental Airlines, more airline for your money.
We're wrapping up with the king of the comebacks. Last year at the Metrodome, John Elway capping an 84-yard drive with the Ed McCaffrey touchdown pass with 19 seconds to play. And again, Elway and the Broncos pulling it out for a 20-17 victory. And we're back with John Elway. We talked a little bit about the improvements on offense with Keith Traylor, Neil Smith, and also Darian Gordon being added. John, where would you rank this Bronco defense compared to some of the others that you've played with in your career?
Well, I'll tell you what, it's as probably as talented defense as I've ever played with. I think that, you know, I've been real fortunate in my career here in Denver that we've always played great defense and had very talented defenses. But I think that this defense, if it continues to do what it's doing, can be as good as any defense I've ever played with.
Yeah, might get to that Super Bowl and win it. There's two schools of thought. Some are guessing here. If John Elway wins the Super Bowl, he might retire, relax, enjoy the family life. And then there's the other that says, hey, no, he can play for beyond the year 2000. Which is it?
You know, I don't know. I'd sure like to have that bridge. I'd sure like to have to cross that bridge and sit down and have a Super Bowl ring and decide what I want to do. But I think that as long as I feel like I can still play at the level that I want to play and enjoy playing the game that I want to play, and I think physically I'm still in pretty good shape to where that hasn't run out on me yet. So I'm really taking it a game in a year at a time, and after each year just sit back and evaluate where I am and figure out what I want to do.
But a Super Bowl victory would influence your decision in some way.
Yeah, I think it would. And, boy, I would love to have that opportunity to make that decision. But, yeah, it would have an influence.
The competitive side of John Elway says that you still want to break some records, maybe catch Dan Marino in some areas. And a 50,000-yard mark, you hitting that, why is that important to you?
Well, I don't know. I think that, you know, football is such a team sport. And so, I mean, it's statistics mean they're nice, but they're not what it's all about. But, yeah, I mean, 50,000 yards, I think, is because no one else has done it other than Danny. So, I mean, that's something that would be nice to be able to reach.
All right, and the mile-high salute.
Actually, I got to do it last week, Monday night. I scored on the snake.
And what did it feel like?
It's pretty good. I did that to the south stands, and they were all fired up. So I felt like I got in the running backs group and could now salute with them all the time.
All right, in our last 30 seconds, we talked to some of the Packer players early in the year when there was discussion where they thought about maybe going undefeated like the Dolphins in the early 70s. People are looking at your schedule, the only unbeaten team. Is that possible with this Denver team?
Well, I don't know. I think that if we stay focused and continue to take them one at a time, our schedule gets a little tougher as time goes on. We've played a lot of home games at this point, so we're going to have to play better football than we've played. But who knows? I mean, that's a long way off, and our first goal is to win the AFC West and then lock up that home field advantage. And if we can do that, then and we're undefeated, great. If not, then hopefully we can get to that Super Bowl.
All right, well, good luck all along the way. Enjoy the bye week, and then you have the Raiders coming up. Thanks for being with us, John, and we'll talk to you again later in the season.
My pleasure.
We appreciate John Elway being with us. Next week, Brett Favre. Tomorrow, Art Donovan. Thanks for watching Up Close. We'll see you next time.